Welcome to Courage to Create, the show where we dive into the stories, struggles, and triumphs of those who dared to bring their visions to life. I'm Faye Lynne, your host, and today I have Kevin Smith with me. His remarkable passion for growth and transformation has shaped his career across multiple industries. I'm really excited for you to meet Kevin Smith. Hello, Kevin.
Faye Lynne, good day. It's an honor to be here with you. I'm excited to spend the next several minutes talking.
Oh, thank you. And I'm excited to hear it. Before we get started, I'm just going to let the viewers know a little bit about you. And when I say a little bit, this is a lot of it, but it's only a little bit about you. So I've learned a lot about you in the last little while watching you on YouTube. Just incredible work that you're doing, Kevin. Kevin has been blessed with the diverse leadership roles across business, manufacturing, education, and coaching, with expertise in project management, strategic planning, staff development, and organizational change. He has served as Dean of the School of Education at a Midwestern university, a school district superintendent, a principal, an athletic director, and a vice president of North American operations in manufacturing. With a doctorate in education and a passion for paying it forward, Kevin empowers others through personal development and stakeholder collaboration. His work as an executive coach and an organizational development expert continues to inspire sustained excellence in individuals and teams worldwide. Get ready to discover why Kevin just embodies the spirit of courage to create. Wow, Kevin, see what I mean?
Wow, I think I should leave now. There's no more higher note than that to
Like,
leave on. Wow.
isn't that incredible? I was like, wow. And that, like I said, that was just a tidbit of the information that I found out there about you. So I'm really excited. Let's get started with the first question. And I'm really am looking forward to seeing where this takes us. First question. What inspired you to embark on your most recent creative endeavor of becoming an author, and why this particular topic?
Faye Lynne, thank you again so much. I love what you're doing out there and serving God and bringing the messages that you bring. And, you're reading that resume and I'm thinking, none of that's me in any way, shape, or form. Every success is the glory of God. And it really goes from the author. The book I wrote is titled The Still Mindset, and it talks about a framework to being able to bring together and grow leadership skills in high pressure environments. And there wasn't one moment, to be frank about it, other than this. The book represents, and my motivation came through continuing to find how I can tell my story based on the walk with God because look, I'm one that stayed in God's way too much, way too long in life. But for some reason, these past 20 or so years, God has helped me remove the fog of my past. And I clearly understand any success, any significance that I played a part in, any value I brought to anyone wasn't me. It was God in that piece. God was there only when still was in place. Psalm 46:10, be still and know I am God. But what really got me to put this into writing and to create the book was, quite frankly, the last 11 years as a grandparent. Our oldest grandson, Elliot, was born in 2014, and then his brother, Oliver, 2 years later. Our only granddaughter was born in 2019. She's about to be 6, and then her younger brother was born just about 4 years ago. He'll be 4 next month.
Wow.
And with each grandchild, I have grown so much, and I have learned about being still more than I ever did before. And in particular, I'll encapsulate all 4 grandchildren that really led me to this book, coming through at our youngest grandson, Bobby. One of the most fun times as a grandparent or as a parent is when that child reaches roughly about the age of 2. And they've got all these thoughts in their mind. These words are up here, but up until that point in time, getting them out. So around 2, they start to get them out. And, Bobby, you can sense he had those words there. And as he started getting them out, there would be that pause as he tried to find those words to finish, to bring that thought to the world, to me, to his, to my wife, to his parents, to his friends, to everyone around him. And what's our natural inclination? is to jump in and finish that thought
Yes.
for him.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but with Bobby, and I think it's a learning I had with Elliot, and then a little bit more with Oliver, and a little bit more with Sophie, our only granddaughter, that I found myself dropping to one knee as he was struggling to get the words out and just looking him in the eye and being silent.
Good
And
for
as I
you.
reflected on the past year and a half, 2 years on how that developed a connection, not just with Bobby, but with God even further than I'd ever had, and with my wife and with my children, it was something that I felt like I had a story ready to go in that regard. And that's why now, as far as the book's concerned, so a little long winded, but it's been a very
No, that's
powerful growth piece for me.
wow, that's wonderful. And as you're saying it, I'm thinking about my grandchildren as well. And it's with my children, it was like rush, 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 get them to say whatever because you're ready to go out the door.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
with the grandchildren, it's like, okay, you take that. Yeah, and I never
Yeah.
thought of that extra pause that builds the relationship between you and how that reflects with God as well. Wonderful. That was great. Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
So you knew that was there. You felt like you had to do this, but what was the moment that you actually made it happen and started to do get it out there?
Faye Lynne, I'm going to go back a little bit. I'll talk about some
Okay.
obstacle, if I may.
Yes.
I've
Go
been
ahead.
one, and I didn't really recognize this. Again, through my youth, and as I stepped into my 20s and 30s, and I was in leadership roles without
Yeah.
understanding I was in a leadership role, right? Whether it was
Yeah.
coaching or being frontline supervisor in a manufacturing environment or whatever it might be, or even
Mhm.
just as a young parent in that setting. Again, as God stuck with me, as He promises He'll never leave us in life, I'm a
Mhm.
good example because I probably
Mhm.
gave Him more than 100 reasons to leave, but He's always been there.
Yeah.
I recognized that I was really dealing with inferiority from the aspect of I always saw something in others that I questioned, why was I not as good as they were? Not in a competing factor,
No,
but it was
no.
just something I felt like I should know that. I should be able to explain that. And what that generated for me, Faye Lynne, was this. It generated overthinking like I can't even explain. And as I overthought, how can I compensate? I devalued myself and devalued what I was bringing to my team. And as I reflect back through that time and experiences of inferiority, which I still deal with it a bit today, but
I was going to
because
ask
of
you that.
God's love and
Yeah, yeah.
patience, I'm better with that piece today and can easily accept and see my place in his purpose, growing to become more like Jesus. But it's to serve others, we need to be growing our own value. Many people might look and say, well, that's a selfish thing to say. It's only selfish if you're doing so, serving yourself to step over others or to push others out of the way. If
Mhm.
the intent is to raise your value so you have more value to bring to everybody else, it's still selfless and it's still serving. And as I put all of that together, in just quite frankly, through reflective time since the first of this year of 2025, I begin to recognize more and more the value still has played in my life. And that still has come through the fact that God has allowed me to have my parents still to this day. I think He
Oh,
understood I couldn't do life without them. But
nice.
He's also allowed me to have the love of the love of my life for more than 46 years, and the
Oh,
message and
congratulations.
the support she's poured into me. And
Yeah.
as I put all that together, reflecting in January and February, it really became a point of I need to do something with this. So I've been developing training program around
Uh,
this, trying to put together what some people would call keynote speaking, if you
yes.
will. I don't
Yes.
know if I'll ever get that opportunity, but
You'll be
but
ready
as
if you
I
do.
put those two together and worked on the curriculum and worked on the keynote, it came to me with some quite frankly great guidance from God fearing friends, God loving friends. That now was the time to put this into a book and to put it into some words in that piece, and that led me to take basically about a 4 or 5 month window and document and put the book together. But it's really
Wow.
been almost 66 years of life coming
Yeah.
together in this piece.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible journey. You know what I love to hear is about the people around you that encourage you because that's what we need. We can't do anything alone. It's those people speaking those words of life into us that makes us realize we can do that. And you know, when you were saying about that, not having the, like seeing the other people when you were a leader and thinking, why can't I do it like that? But I think that still, like, I see that in you still, your word, I'm taking your word, but that I still
You
see
can
a bit of
steal
that. Right?
still if you need
Yeah,
to.
I can still I stole it. But I can still see that, how that would be something that you would have to be aware of. And by doing this, by writing that book, I think that probably is like another chapter in moving forward with that in your life too, right? Because does make a difference when you write it down and you start to think it all through and put it on paper. That's got to be rewarding. I can imagine. I've never written a book, so I can imagine.
Well, you're exactly right, and the thoughts and the reflections that
Yeah.
came out as I
Yeah.
reflected back, it goes all the way back to my elementary school teachers, and I can remember. Look, I am one that was back in the day when paddling was simple and legal. From grades 2 through 6, I was right there
Oh,
in that
oh.
piece.
Mm-hmm.
But grade 5, I had a male teacher for the first time in my life, and he came to teaching after, and he was still farming in that piece, but there was
Oh,
just a connection piece. And what I loved about the gentleman Ben Whittinghill was he was just very point blank with you. There was no lack of clarity in any way, shape, or form. And then that grew further with individuals, whether there was Coach Bill Harris. And I go back to 17 years old, and hey, I had zero mechanical talent. So for me to be on the sideline of a football field, he was an assistant coach, and even through the junior high ages, and you know we were a very small school, and we
what
played
was
in a
it?
very competitive football conference, and I was a manager and statistician a bit. But I recall that night in Bicknell, Indiana, we won our first conference championship. And as time is running out, I think the final score, as a matter of fact, now that we talked, 25-14, I forgot to put that in the book, but he walked over just to shake my hand and simply said thank you. And not that it was a validation of anything, but I reflect back at that age, it didn't register with me,
Yeah.
but his
Yeah.
guidance and the guidance of others in my life, even
Yeah.
from those early ages, and the people now, people like yourself, there's opportunities for us to add value without ever having to take a college course,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
ever having to travel for a week-long seminar. I know that may
Mm-hmm.
be sacrilegious given the world
Yeah.
you and I try to live in,
Yeah.
right?
That's true.
But
It's
we
true.
have a chance in every moment. And the book really centers on this. When I was a teenager, as I was first stepping into career focus, I used to think, I look in the mirror and say, that's me, take it or leave it, world. But you know what I found? And I
Yeah.
think you would agree with this, and
Yeah.
others found this much before but in today's world, and in the world probably ever since, is that we need to be self aware in the
Mm-hmm.
every moment of every opportunity we have. And that self awareness, quite
Yeah.
honestly, is occurring right now because, in my viewpoint, when
Mm-hmm.
that moment is gone, others can second guess, they
Yeah.
can judge. But you know what? It doesn't matter because that moment will never be back. We've got to move to the next, the next, the next, and the next. And unless we're reflecting on what we're learning about ourselves, we're gonna cheat others around
Yeah.
us that we want to serve of the higher value. And if we can increase our value through self-awareness, we may be able to help others find potential in them to even think about it they never even thought that they had.
Yes, and I always think that. I think it's not that you're cheating yourself. You're cheating
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
that are losing out on what you're learning. And it's not selfish or anything to think, "Oh, wow, I need to improve or be self-aware or grow." That it's a generous thing. It's something inside of us that we should want to do for others. So,
Absolutely.
that like that's the bottom line is to serve. Our
Absolutely.
service, right? Right. Wow. So this is this is incredible. It's great stories that you're telling, Kevin. Now, we said that the defining moment, but where I want to ask you how your work touched or influenced others as it shaped your own life. So what I wanted to know was that as you're working on this, going through the process, and I hear there's a lot of people in your life, but where there are certain people that you see already that it made an effect on them even before the book is out there to buy.
I think there are others, not so much that my work had an impact on, but as much as they just had a chance to reflect on the work that they do without seeing
Okay.
it perhaps in this manner.
Yes.
There are individuals that, again, what is life today if it's not rush, right? And
Yeah.
anytime I think of rush or I think of mindful of busyness,
Mhm.
I think of John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which I just love. What a perfect way to put our life together
Yes.
and let us really look at it in the mirror, because it's difficult for us to look in the mirror without starting to justify, oh, but that's okay type thing, right? But
Yeah.
Faye Lynne, just stop and think. I think the book can help anyone who still is in that mindset that, well, if their car's not in the parking lot and they're not in the office for 15 hours, we're not
Hmm.
getting value out of them. My
Nice.
argument today with what I've learned, and I've had that mindset. I look, I developed a really good skill, and I know there's others that are better than me that I regret at this point in my life back in the 90s and 2000s. And that was this fallacy or myth of managing multiple priorities. And I use the air quotes, which I use
Yes.
rarely, but I became so task oriented, check, 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 check.
Oh,
Where's the value in that really? If those things, 90% of them, in my experience, really didn't make a difference in what you needed to be focused on. But the book is really built, and I've had some individuals tell me that it really helped them reflect on where they put value at. It's not about being at the office 5 hours earlier or
yeah.
5 hours
Yeah.
longer. It's
Yeah.
about it's about truly having the focus, or as Stephen Covey said, knowing the main thing and keeping the main thing
The
in that
main
aspect.
thing.
And I've had some individuals reach out and share with me. I use some really close people in my inner circle, my confidants, if you will, pastors and educators and executives. And as I was putting the book together, asked for their input in aspects, and just the opportunity. I had one individual tell me just the opportunity to read it had them reflecting and finding a path forward for them in that regard. So the book
Yes.
has really just kind of been released on Amazon. It's very much a just
Okay.
author release right now. I did it.
Awesome.
When your inferiority piece, you kind of do this kind of in a shy
I
aspect
was gonna say,
to
yeah.
keep the lid on it in that piece, in that setting. But there's really a lot of value there that I can tell you has really helped me. It was very helpful to go through the process. My wife read the book in one setting when I was at a board meeting, and her
Oh,
feedback, very biased. I
well, of
know,
course,
but
but probably
her
honest.
feedback was something that was near and dear to me. And
Oh,
Coach Harris, who has been a lifelong friend, but really impacted me in school. He was a math teacher, algebra teacher, just somebody who really had life in perspective and has been comfortable in his own skin. Has lived God's word his entire life in the
oh,
everyday, not just Sunday morning, but Monday through Saturday and Sunday. He
wow.
read the book, and his text to me was that, I don't read much anymore, but he provided some positive feedback, and that meant the world to me. And
Oh,
just the
nice.
aspect he was going to share with his grandchildren validated God's intent for me to bring this out to the world.
How rewarding. That must your heart just must have been like,
Oh,
poof,
very
like
much so.
that is
Very
very
much
much
so.
so. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. And something that you were saying when you're talking about checking the boxes and that it shouldn't be like that. And that really brought me back to my days in automotive. And we had to, in engineering, anything, you had to check the little boxes. And if there was a little something not done, or if you weren't at the office for 12 hours, you were called a part-timer. And it's like, just life didn't have the value that it should. And by you taking that moment, just to think about that, it even made me reflect back on that and thinking, wow, that just we were cheating ourselves. We were putting things above what really was important in our lives, I think.
We did the best we knew how to do
Yeah.
because
Yes.
that was the legacy that had been brought to us.
Yes.
But thank goodness, right? Look, my generation, the baby boomer, end of
Hmm.
the very end of the baby boomers, we're
Hmm.
probably at fault for some of the things the world doesn't like in
Hmm.
today's generations.
Yes.
But at the same time, I think we also generated some opportunities for today's generations, my children's, your children's, to
Yeah.
learn and do things better. And I'll share a story with you that really validates a bit. We talk about my wife and I and what we learned through our grandchildren. We learn so much more from them than they will ever learn from us, I think. And
Mm.
same way with our children. But watching both of our sons have an opportunity to be parents and to live in this world and how they do it with activities
Yeah.
these their kids have today is beyond me. We had some activities and we
Not
were
nothing
tired in
like
our
this.
era.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Nothing like this, though. Oh,
no, but
wow.
obviously going back to a pre-COVID window of time, just a few months before COVID, our youngest son had sold his business, and they had just had the birth of our only granddaughter. He actually was at home with her for several months leading into
Oh,
the COVID piece, and Faye Lynne, here's the significance in that piece is. He and his wife were fun-loving people. They still are in that aspect, but watching what becoming a parent did for them in that setting. And in particular, I'll go back and if I may just tell this story a little bit
yeah.
because it really touches that still aspect again. And you can imagine we all get humbled in life, and sometimes we don't recognize when we're being humbled. Sometimes we do, but for our youngest son and his wife on October 10, 2018, they learned that they were going to lose the child she was carrying. And in a matter of days, weeks, they did. You can imagine the difficulty.
Yes.
And it was just, wow, what do we do? The
Yes.
pain. That
Yes.
was October 10, 2018. Well, on October 10, 2019, our only granddaughter was born
On that date?
on that date. And for our son to have an opportunity to be a
Wow.
stay-at-home parent when he's still, and he's at an age where he's still establishing his career and
Oh,
himself. And
yes, yes.
for several months, just to have that opportunity. And he'll tell you that I shared this with him, but it brings back the song by the Bee Gees, "To Love Somebody." There's a
Oh,
heart that really doesn't let you put that into words any better
yeah,
than
yeah.
what Barry, Robin, and Maurice did in that
Or
song. And that
singing
kind of
that.
represents what we've seen in both of our sons and how they've developed into parents that really represent God.
Wow, that is fantastic. What a heart touching. I know I could tell by the tears in my eyes. That is a wonderful story. And for you to look back and recognize it. Some parents see that they don't recognize what's going on in the lives of their children when they're going through things like that. That's wonderful. And I can see why they're good, godly men because you're giving that example to them. And that makes a difference. It starts at home. I know we need our church, but a lot of this just starts at home. So that's a great reflection on you and your wife.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Believe me, she's carried the load. She's just simply
That's
been fantastic our entire
That's just
life. So
oh,
I
that's
can't
beautiful.
brag about her enough. Now she's not here listening to this right now, so
I was just gonna say, is she right there? My
no,
wife
no.
is the
But she's
best.
out making money for us today. So
Oh, there you go. Oh, she's the best. She is the best.
100%.
Well, I was just gonna ask you if there was one person in your life that really, but maybe it is your wife, but one person in your life that you, and I hear there's coaches, teachers, all these kind of things, but is there one person you think that walked with you maybe the longest, the most, the furthest, and that encouraged you the most just to get things out there that you're doing? And
You know, it would have to be Debbie, my wife, just
yeah,
largely. We got married at a very, very young age.
did you?
So I'm not nearly as old. Well, no, I'm not as old as I look. No, maybe I am. I don't know. We'll leave that for the viewer in that piece.
Yeah,
But
yes.
you know, we recently celebrated our 46th wedding anniversary in June,
That's
and we went to
great.
a breakfast, and the waitress, found out it was our anniversary, and very sweetly asked, "What's the secret?" Um,
Oh,
and the first thing that came to my mind was work at it. And that's not as romantic as an answer as you might
no,
normally get, right?
it
It's
works.
yeah, a lot of other things, right? But like everything else in life, and I know
Mhm.
you follow John Maxwell as well, and
Yeah.
and there is no such thing biblically or in life as that red easy Staples button that came out many years ago. I
Yeah,
think it was
easy,
Staples.
the
Doesn't
easy button.
exist. I've searched the Bible for the red button,
It's
and
not there.
maybe no. If I ever find it, I don't think I'm going to hit it
Yes.
either because I'm not sure
Yes.
where the wires go to
I
in that regard. But there's certainly been ups and downs, and I've been one that committed to career aspect, missed
Mhm,
things and sacrificed things without recognizing it in younger
mhm.
ages, and put a lot more pressure and work with her. And she's been consistent. She's been there. She's been honest with me. She
Oh,
doesn't beat around the bush. She doesn't soft tap it in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. And I
Yeah.
don't think you can ask any more of that from
Wow.
someone who's truly the love of your life, or even a friend. You
Wow.
want
Yeah.
individuals,
Right.
and just her being there, and she would probably tell you that she doesn't think I listen, but I tell her I'm just a little slower in coming around. It may take me 4 or 5 years to really get the message, right? But no,
That's
her
funny.
love and
That's funny.
consistency, Faye Lynne, my life
Oh,
would not
great.
be the same, and God bless me in that setting. She's kept me very grounded. But to your point, there's so
That's
many
wonderful.
individuals that I've been blessed with, whether it's been for a minute, whether it's been for a
Mhm.
lifetime, from
Yes.
Coach Harris to Pastors Kendall Wildy, Pastor Daryl Land, Eric Widges, who's been very close to me from an educator piece, and
Okay.
our sons, and raising two sons. When they
Yeah.
got married, we gained two daughters, and what they
Yes.
have taught and been there for us with, and you mentioned you're a grandparent. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
Faylin, but there are no words to describe the power of being a grandparent that you
Oh,
feel
yeah.
with those grandchildren. Zero.
Yeah, and my mom used to say that to me all the time. Just you wait, just you wait. Because I
Yeah,
was like, Mom, the way you look at them and everything, she said, just you wait. And now I feel the same look
yeah.
on my face when I'm looking at them. It's like, oh wow. But it's just such a blessing from God to have that opportunity to see them and to be a part of their lives and watch them grow. And it is a different aspect because I was working so much before when my children were little, and there's so many little things. And I think, but then it also made me remember how many things I did see. Instead of thinking, oh, I missed this or I missed this,
Yeah.
then I started to think, you know what? I didn't miss as much as I thought I missed. I did have all these other special times too. So I think God just helps us out that way to bring that back to our remembrance too.
No, I love that. And to your point, it is about perspective and attitude, right?
Yes.
And when I say this, please, it's not judgmental, but in our lifetimes, in those settings, so much has changed in life. From
Yes.
just
Yes.
speaking from here in America, from the civil rights movement, the
Yes.
assassinations of key leaders in the '60s, and growing
Mm-hmm.
up in an area that, quite frankly, in Southern Indiana, there's probably a bubble on the world that you really didn't understand what was
Yes.
happening. Then you
Yes.
get into the '70s and you recognize government can't be trusted in some aspects with things that went on at the higher
Yeah.
levels. Then in
Yeah.
the '80s, here's these electronic things. You talked about automotive. I worked with a contract electronics manufacturer that was 90% automotive support
Oh,
with the analog braking systems on the passenger vehicles, but in particular the light duty trucks. So
okay.
we got yelled at a lot, the
Yes.
hammer down type
Oh,
stuff for the
yes. Oh,
automotive
yes.
people. That may have been you.
Yes.
You might have been
Oh,
one
yeah.
of them. I'm just,
I've heard it.
yeah,
I've
those
heard it. I didn't
engineering,
do the yelling, but I did
yeah,
get yelled
yeah,
at.
those engineering aspects, but just perspective. Just keep things in perspective, and I love the work that researchers have done in science and medical that really
Yes.
break down the brain and what it brings to us. Because look, I'm not the most intelligent in those areas, probably many others, but just to be able to understand that we
Yes.
can control the thoughts that come into our mind. And when we
Yes.
hear the negative talk coming, turn it into a
Mhm.
positive affirmation, and
Yes.
being able to link it to a biblical piece. And, we have a nephew, Tracy, who just has been outstanding in his growth and has been through challenges, with things out of his control in life that have happened, but just been a significant father to three fantastic children. And just watching him, what an influence he's been for me and my wife as well. And I'm really not making these names up. I have been influenced by so many people. I wish I'd recognized it 40 years ago, 30
Yeah.
years ago in those
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
But being able to change the thought process from, I can't do that, or why did you do it
Yes.
that way, to, I've got this, I'm going to learn from this, and next time I'm doing this, because, everything you read in my resume, I'm humbled
Mhm.
by.
Oh, it's
That
beautiful.
used to, those titles and things
Yes.
used to stand out like the Las Vegas neon lights at
Yeah.
midnight. But it's really one that's missing, I think, that I wish we all had: child of God. If we just
Oh,
stopped our resume there, started there, we need nothing else.
I was just gonna say that's all you need. I was just gonna
Yeah,
say that. That's all people would need
100%.
to know about you, because then they would know there's trust, there's respect, there's honesty, there's peace, there's joy, there's love, there's all those things. As soon as you know that someone's a child of God. That's beautiful, Kevin. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Such amazing stories. I'm going to hate to have this conversation end. We may have to have another one day.
Well, I'll be there, but look, I'm probably talking way too much. You need to edit some of this out in that regard, my friend.
No. Everything is wonderful. Everything you said was fantastic. And now, before we do say goodbye to everyone, is there anything else you want to say, or do you feel like you've pretty much covered everything you needed? But feel free, take your time, and if there's anything else.
No, I just want to, if I can add just a few things from this perspective. It's not about me. It truly is I hope this comes across as God speaking. There are people in this world who are there and ready to help those who feel like they're all alone. The issues that you're having, I've got those issues. Yeah. Faye Lynne has experienced those issues, but there are people like Faye Lynne. There are people like John Maxwell. There are people like Kelly Merbler. There are people like Ruth Easterling. There are people, Chris Robinson. There are people, Stephen Covey, Bob Buford. There are people who have wrote books. Go to them, use them, because those experiences can help and relate. But more than anything, there's a Father in the heavens that promised never to leave. And I'm an example. And I can tell you, he doesn't leave, because I gave him every chance to lock the door and throw the key away more than once. But he's there, and we're there for you and for self. And never be shy on that piece, because there's no judgment in any way, shape, or form. And, Faye Lynne, I think for mankind and womankind, the greatest challenge that Jesus gave us was not just to love others, but to love them as he loved us. And that's a tough thing to live up to. But when we say we did that, there's not a better impact, whether we say words or not. And Faye Lynne, I'll say, I love what you do. I love you as a child of God. I think your messages are right on track. They relate, they hit home, they bring the impact. They provide the opportunity for individuals to step away in their own stillness and reflect and grow through. It's not about pride, folks.
It's
about self-awareness. Know you and admit the truth to yourself, and then move from there.
Wow. Preach it, brother.
Well, I don't mean to be so.
No, I say that in a good sense. I really agree with everything you're saying, and amen to all of that. I appreciate you saying those words, because it's a hard journey for a lot of people. And if they don't realize, sometimes people feel really alone. And you talked about the pre-COVID and after COVID. And I think that in the season that we're in the world, is a lot of people are really alone, and they've just been taught that it's safer to be alone, but it's not. You need people, you need God, but you need people as well in your life.
It is not. And, rush and hurry is not where it's at. And I am an example of constant go, go, go.
Yeah.
Maybe the kids have to be someplace every night of the week, but there's got to be time for yourself, or time with your spouse or your friend or someone.
Yes.
Just to take a deep breath.
Yes. Well, thanks again, Kevin. I really appreciate you being here today. And really, I think you did encourage people to be courageous and to keep creating. And I wish you all the best with your book, and get some advertising up there. We want to see it out there. Okay.
Well, one of my task list items, I have 28 for this week. 28? I'm down to 2 more. Some things I don't break all at once. I can't go cold turkey on. Is promotion of books. So that's the next thing, is to strategize.
All right. And I will make sure we have everything in the show notes of how to get a hold of you and for people to get that book. Okay. Thanks again, Kevin. God bless you too. Have a great day.
It's been an honor, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. For me too. Thank you to our amazing guest for inspiring us today. If you love this Courage to Create show, please subscribe for more stories to fuel your creativity and courage with Faye Lynne's Lighthouse. I will see you next time.